right, Feds is
Wow, this gives a little thing if I want to leave the meeting.
everybody don't like being tapped.
Yeah, they'll give you the chance to bail out, right?
I love it.
Am I sharing the screen?
No.
No, Fuller.
We can
Thank
see
you.
a screen now, Pat.
Appreciate you.
Okay, perfect. So just to jump right into it. So on the screen here, you see banking accounts and checking accounts. So just to kind of jump right into it, I'm sure everyone has gotten hopefully a stimulus check. Hopefully, you have some type of incoming money on a daily basis. So kind of just wanted to go down the listing if anyone wants to speak up and kind of participate. Do you have a bank account? Did you get your stimulus check? If you did, where did that money go? Hoping that it was potentially direct deposited, so we can talk about that a little bit more. Does anyone want to volunteer?
I have a bank account. I've been trying to mess with my credit. I just got a secured card, but when I haven't got my stimulus check, I don't even know if I'm gonna get it or not. If I do, I'm gonna probably throw it in Bitcoin, to be honest, and just leave it in there till something blows. But that's what I'm doing.
So do you know if you'll get your stimulus check through like direct deposit, or do you know if you'll get a physical check? Have you gotten one in the past?
I've gotten one in the past. They sent me the check last time. From what I heard though, when they give it to you, it depends on how you filed your taxes in 18 and 19. So if I believe the first one I had was 18, I didn't have an account set with it, but I think 19 I did have the account. So I don't know how they're gonna work that out.
Okay. You should probably look into that. I think there's a website you can go to track your status. I know it was previously, but you should definitely look into that, because if it was an account that you had in 19, and I don't know if you may no longer have that account, there's ways to track down your money. So you should definitely look into that. But I was just asking that to hope that if you did have a bank account, I think it does show growth that in 2018 you didn't have one, 2019 you did. So now you're into cryptocurrency and all of that. So that's really good from your aspect as well. Also, that I know you mentioned secure credit card, and I was going to talk about that too. So that's really good. We can talk about that a little bit more. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
I think I'm gonna receive my stimulus through my bank account. I just joined Navy Federal Credit Union, so I'm looking to see like if it hits that or not, because I got the first stimulus check. It came to me like in the form of a check, and it just came out of nowhere, which was really odd. I do have the direct deposit like through the school, tied to the school, but I'm wondering if the next stimulus check, if I receive it, if it goes to account I open in Navy Federal Credit Union. But I also would like to know at some point in the conversation, your opinion on credit unions versus banks.
Definitely. We can talk about that a little bit more too. But thank you for sharing, Andre. Hoping that, so interested to know when you did get your check, just because we'll be talking about some check cashing places here, if you did utilize that or if you did take it right to your bank. So hoping you can share once we get to that aspect on the presentation. But it's really good that you opened that Navy Federal Credit Union account. Like Al said, that is a really good credit union, and just so you can, track your money and utilize the benefits within that. So yeah, we could talk about that a little more as well. Does anyone else want to share? If not, it's fine. All right. We can keep things moving. All right, so along the same lines of just got paid, where's your money going? We talked about that a little bit more, but wanted to talk about check cashing places. So just some facts for you guys. Studies have shown that the use of mainstream financial institutions are less represented in minority neighborhoods and communities. So meaning there you don't see many mainstream banks in your neighborhoods. I think now it's becoming more common, but I think studies have shown that they are more prevalent in I don't even want to say like privileged communities, but I think you know what I'm getting at. So studies have shown that, and I think that is a direct result into maybe why minorities do have misconceptions of using bank accounts and kind of what that means. So it is shown that we do use check cashing places more, and they're more represented in our communities. We use those, so that's why I was asking Andre, did you take that to a check cashing place, or did you go take it and deposit it into an account? I don't want to say check cashing places are negative, but there's definitely more positives when using mainstream financial institutions, banks, credit unions, just to kind of house your money and the benefits that offers as well. So,
Joe, you had a question? Are you about to say something?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't know that. I didn't realize that that was the actual question. With the physical check that they sent me, because it was from U.S. Department of Treasury, I cashed it at the post office because I figured like this. I went to my local post office at that because I figured like this. The post office in my community serves my community. So if I'm gonna have to break off somebody part of the money that I get as far as cash in my check, then at least let it go to the post office that serves my community. That's how I look at it, rather than going to a check cash. And I see people as representative of us working at that post office. I've gotten nothing but the best service there, so that's why I chose to do that. And plus, it came from the Department of Treasury, so I was able to cash it at the post office. But I used that money to pay bills and still wind up, deposited into that Navy Federal Credit Union account.
nice. Okay, that's good to know. Oh, go ahead. Were you going to say something, Patrick?
No. I was gonna say I didn't know you could. You just taught me something because I didn't know you could cash checks at the post office.
I was going to say the same exact thing. You literally just taught me something.
I had no idea.
Oh yeah, it's up to the discretion of. They used to call them Postmaster General, but now they call Post Office Manager. It's up to the discretion of the Post Office Manager, but they're not going to say no to a check that says Department of Treasury. So I ain't seen them tell nobody no with that yet.
Interesting. Well, great to know. Hopefully everyone can note that as well, because I literally did not know that. And I think it's good that you thought about it, you had a rationale as to why you went to the post office. It's great to hear you've had great service there. So, you had different reasonings on going there instead of a check cashing place. So I think that was really good.
Was you about to say something?
Me?
Oh yeah, I thought you were about to say something. I thought.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a question of the brother that said he cashed his check at the post office. Is there a fee associated with that? Because I try to avoid fees. That's why I take my things to the bank. But
Yeah, yes, it was a fee, but like I said, when I thought about it, it was the same fee for like no matter what amount up to like I think it was something like 3,000 or so, 5,000 or so. It was the same fee. And the reason why I said again I didn't mind because it was people working in the post office that was representative of our community, and rather than just giving it to some company where I don't know where that money's going, what they doing with it, it's coming back to the people that service our community working in the post office. So, and all I needed was my driver's license. That's it.
You don't remember what the percentage was?
when I broke it down, it was less than like 1.1%. I think that's what the check casher fees charge. It was less than what the check casher charge.
Got you. Thank you.
Yeah, to Al's point, that is a great way to look at it. I never really thought to look at it like that either. But it's definitely a way to go about thinking about where you want to put your money in, you know. So yeah, I was just wanted to kind of share that is kind of the reason why people do have misconceptions of banks, and they typically do go to check cash in places. One, because they're not represented in our community, and then two, it's like, well, what's the bank doing with this money? Is it safe? Is it going to be available when I want it? Are they using it to put it in things that I don't agree with? You know, a lot of people have those thoughts. I know growing up, that was things that I heard my father say all the time. Like, I'm not using the bank. I don't know what they're doing with my money. Or when I go to get it, they're putting my money in, you know, back in the day, he would say something like regarding politics, and they're doing something with his money there. And I'm like, what does that have to do with one thing versus another? But that was just kind of how he was raised, and that banks weren't good and it was all negative. So kind of just now working at a bank and having a different perspective and actually living through, you know, the positives, and also being interestingly enough, on the other side, so on the audit side, to show and kind of confirm that the bank is operating as appropriately, I can definitely provide some positives regarding using a bank. So Petra, we can go to the next slide. For some reason I can't. Okay. So yeah, just to kind of lead into the positives versus negatives. So just wanted to talk about this a little bit more. So how many people, and feel free to jump in, but heard of the bank being robbed on Broad Street, the Citizens Bank? And if not, that's fine. But I know, like, I'm on, like, I follow some news, social media sites, and I know I saw like some videos of it live going down, the robbery. So I wasn't sure if anyone else saw that, but it was crazy. And again, that goes into why would you use a bank if they're going to get robbed? So I guess the differences, and people think, so have you ever thought about, well, if you're keeping your money in a shoebox under the bed, or in a safe, or you're keeping it somewhere that you feel is safe, you could get robbed as well. So kind of the differences. What's the difference between you getting robbed and the bank getting robbed? Does anyone have any thoughts about that, or know what I'm talking about specifically?
Yeah, the bank's got insurance, don't it?
Exactly.
FDIC, baby.
I get robbed. I got robbed before. I ain't gonna lie. I got robbed. I never thought it would ever happen. God forbid anything happens to anybody. But that's the worst feeling. You don't get nothing back. And then when you go to the police and you report it, it ain't what you think it is. They take the report, and if you ain't got nothing to show and tell for it, and if they ain't got no proof to show and tell for it, you just took a loss and you just happy you got your life back. But a bank don't give you your money back.
You gave a description.
Exactly. What did you say, Patrick?
I was asking if you gave them a description. And he went to the cops, but we can move on.
Yeah, I gave him a description and everything. I gave him a description. I didn't know the guy. I didn't know who he was. Obviously, I didn't know who he was. But I was scared because he pulled the gun out. He was with somebody else too.
Patrick's trying to make you relive that.
No,
relive the whole accident. It happened here in Philly. It happened here in Philly. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. Like I used to bartend, and then I came out. I was a little bit tipsy. Walked home. Dude came out with the gun. And I was just like, dude, take it all. I didn't have that much money, but I was just like, my mind, I'm thinking I'm about to die. So, my heart froze, stayed paused, stayed humble, didn't try to say nothing stupid to the dude. And then, as soon as he left, I ain't gonna lie, like I literally went straight to the house. I went to my house, called my family up and everything. The cops told me I had to come walk to the district. They didn't even want to come to me. They told me
Wow.
I had to walk to the pristine, the district. This was on 3rd District in South Philly. They told me I had to get up and walk to them. I said, yo, I just got robbed. I'm thinking they're going to come to me to my house.
Wow.
They told me I had to come over there and fill out the report and everything. I was really like, at that point of time, I'm like, man, yeah, but yeah, so I'm gonna leave it at that. It can happen, you know what I mean? It's crazy out here.
Yeah, no, it can definitely happen. And I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm sorry Patrick just made you relive that. But but no, it's not funny. It's actually really serious, and I wish that never happens to you again. But that is prime example. That's kind of where I was going with this. Like, that's prime example as to why you should utilize the banks or the financial institutions around you, because it can literally happen to anyone, especially now. Like, it's so crazy, like 2020, 2021, like the world is crazy. Scamming is at its all-time high. So I think it just all factors into that, right? You just have to be smart about how you move. Not saying that you can avoid being robbed, because you can't, but just if you can avoid, putting your money in other places to eliminate that as much as possible, I think that's definitely a benefit. Now, someone crazy, like, I mean, I'm sure this probably sounds really crazy of me, but like, yeah, thank you, Andre. I just like to look the commentary as I'm talking, but if you think about it, like, someone goes to actually rob a bank, like, okay, let's see, they may leave, they may get away with some money, but like you said, there's insurance, the bank is heavily regulated, that money will be available to you. You typically won't even know that the bank was robbed based on what you have in there if you're coming to get money. So I think that saves you in a sense, and that is also something to think about as you're you want to save. So savings accounts along with checkings accounts, having money going directly into the bank. I know Andre keeps saying the FDIC. So again, being heavily regulated and being able to provide and fund that money if something does happen to the bank.
So even if say Lamar was crafty and got my credit card, debit card numbers and made some online purchases that I didn't approve of, like, and if that money came, like, so if purchases was made from my account that I didn't approve of, is that still insured in the same way?
Yes, it is. So it's actually, that's considered fraud. So that's actually an expedited process, and it's done through an entire different avenue, but you're secure and you're safe there. So you'll get that money back as long as you can kind of prove that, put the dispute in, put the claim in that you did not approve of that purchase, you didn't know about it, and you can kind of get that money back, especially more likely with credit cards. They'll typically just put that credit on your account until they do an investigation, and then you'll be cleared of that line item, if you will. And then again, and they'll say, and similarly, right, I think that's also another benefit of having a credit card or a bank account. So if you do go make a purchase with a debit card or a credit card, and you were there and you do agree with the purchase, however, say you ordered some sneakers online and they came like ripped, or they came with stains on them or used or something like that, and you don't agree with that purchase, that's also another opportunity to go reach out to the merchant first. Typically they give you a hard time. If they do give you a hard time, then you'll reach out to your bank, your financial institution, let them know kind of what's going on, and you'll make a dispute claim there. And then they'll do the investigation. I know that happened to me. I ordered some dresses, and they literally, it was what you got versus what you thought you were going to get. It was horrible. So I took pictures. I sent that to the merchant. They were giving me such a hard time. Oh, you'll have to ship it back and pay for that. And I'm like, well, why do I have to be responsible for it? So then I went to my merchant. It might have took a month, but I got my money back. So I think it was definitely worth it. And I definitely would recommend that going forward. If you do have a transaction that you aren't okay with, or that it was fraudulent, you should definitely try to get that money back. A positive of being able to use that. Do we have a question? Is that the hand thing?
Yeah. So on the other end, my fiance had just asked me a few days ago, what is the likelihood of just everything crashing? And they're saying, like, I understand we had this insurance, but because there's like precedent for like other countries, and don't seem like things are steering towards that direction in this country. So I'm just wondering, like, what are the chances of everything crashing and no one being able to bail out the different companies that insure us? So yeah.
Okay, so this is Nikole talking. This is not like a Wells Fargo employee talking. I think that the likelihood of it is very low. And again, I might be a little biased, just kind of based on me being an auditor, and ensuring that this does not happen. But there are multiple controls in place, from, I think it expands from the entire industry to ensure that doesn't happen. I think that in a million years, it could happen, right? Like, I'm the type of person that anything can happen, but I think you'll still be safe. I think you'll still have that opportunity to retrieve that money that you do have in the bank. Like I was saying, there's different regulators to ensure of that. So if the bank is giving you a hard time, you can go to someone over top of the bank and say, I'm having this issue with the bank, so I think that you'll be secure in that aspect. It might just take a little bit more time, but I don't think that that's likely for literally everyone to just lose their money from a bank. Like, that's the bank will be tremendously, reprimanded for that, just being as though they don't have the controls in place to eliminate that. So I think it was a great question. It's definitely something to consider. It's also something to consider, being as though I think we are moving to a cashless society. Like someone wrote in the comments, like, pretty soon you're not going to go to the bank to take out money. You're literally going to use the bank for credit card purposes, or you're going to use it for electronic transactions. So I think that's something to consider as well. But again, in my biased opinion, I do think that there are controls in place to keep us safe, and if they're not, I'm coming to detect them, specifically at Wells Fargo, and to ensure that doesn't happen.
Indeed. Yeah, thank you. I said the same, not the same thing, but I was like, there's no chance in our lifetime, So
in our lifetime, but it could happen. But you'll still be secure, but it could happen.
Cool. Thank you.
Next slide.
And I'd like to add on, I know some banks actually acquire, this goes back to the last question, I'm sorry, on when Andre cashed that check. I know last time I've cashed checks before, I just took pictures on my phone and deposited through that way of taking pictures, like, face recognition now, phones using a photo.
Yeah, mobile deposit is definitely clutch.
Yeah, it's definitely clutch, man. I mean, it's like I just right there and then, it's not really required too much of anything.
Yeah, I actually do use that option from like Wells Fargo specifically. I know at first I was a little skeptical, like, is this going to go directly in, or, like taking a picture and then wanting to rip up the check. And I'm like, I got to wait, like, just in case something happens. But it has been a seamless process. So that is the new norm, saving you the trips to the bank, especially.
Sure.
Definitely. Can I talk about one thing really quick?
Of course.
I found out the hard way, of course. But in my life now, I use credit cards instead of like my debit card for purchases. I use my credit card, and this is why. And it's when you're using a credit card, it's not your money, it's the bank's money. So oftentimes they get that money back faster and easier than if you use your debit card, because your debit card is your money.
Yeah.
So when I use my credit card and I kind of dispute, because Amazon got a rampant problem with hackers. Like they hack my credit card, buying stuff for my kids. They hack my credit card all the time. So Amazon, it's easy to get the money back basically with a credit card than with your debit card. So I had to learn that the hard way.
No, Al, that's actually a really good point. I think you have to think about that. Like, don't just go crazy spending on your credit card. But I think it's definitely, you know, if you do have a purchase that you know you can pay back or you could have used your own money, definitely try to go the route with using your credit card, especially like online purchasing and different things.
I have a question with
Sure.
regards to credit cards. Um, I'm curious to know if will there be any type of mm, net negative effect on your credit if you stop using your credit card?
So as far as a negative effect, if you stop using it, I think you will, it will be negatively, it will be hit negative against you if you close the card, right? So it's not good to close a card or close an account. I think that if you want to stop using it, I don't think that that's typically bad. I know if you stop using it for like years of time, they will automatically close it. So if you can avoid that, because closed accounts on your credit report do not reflect positively. But again, I don't think that it's something negative. I know some people have credit cards just for like emergencies, so that's something that they're not using at all typically, literally for emergency purposes. If you do have something like that and you see it has been like 3 years since you've been able to use that card, which is probably good, you haven't had an emergency, maybe buy a small purchase on that credit card and then you can pay it back even as soon as you buy it. But just to ensure that you're building your credit, that's actually how you build credit. So I'll actually transition the presentation into the credit card slide. That's exactly where we were going with this discussion. So is there anyone on here who does not have a credit card? And please don't feel embarrassed. I'm just curious.
Lamar, if you want, you can have mine. I'll send you the balance and everything.
Does a debit card count?
Don't send me
Debit
the
cards can't. No, they don't count. And I would say they don't count because they don't help you build credit. So I would, if you do only have a debit card, I would recommend for you to get a secured credit card. And just personally speaking from my experience, when I was in college, I actually got a secured credit card at a credit union. So Andre, I definitely like credit unions. I recommend those often. I think they have a lot of great benefits and a lot of good rates that banks don't offer. So at my credit union specifically, which was TrueMark, I opened a secure credit card. So that's, in a sense, if you aren't familiar, I put $500 down for that, got a credit card. So it was still a sense of credit, but that $500 was there if I never paid it off or, you know, if something crazy happened. So it was still a secure credit card. I would make purchases. I would still pay them off. But I would have that to fall back on. So that helped me build my credit. So when I did want to get an actual credit card, I had a good limit, or, you know, I already had some type of score to work with, if that makes sense. And Milton, I think you have a question. I think that's the hand.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a question for the longest. Okay.
So when you said secure credit card, that means you put capital on the card initially to open it, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Of course. And again, that doesn't have to be a lot of money, but it's just something for the bank to get comfortable that, you know, if something does happen, or, you know, because you're still very new to trying to build credit, if you're still trying to get in the motion of doing that, they have that money to fall back on. But again, it still helps you build credit. I think it's a great opportunity.
What about like lines of credit? Do lines of credit count?
Count meaning?
Do they help you build up your credit as well, like as a credit card, or?
Yes, so it's similar. So like when you receive a credit card, that's technically a line of credit. So it's interchangeable. So yes, it definitely helps you build your credit. I would say along those lines of building credit, that's, you know, if you do have a line of credit, making sure you're paying that money off on time, more than what's expected, that always helps, you know, build your score. Don't go late on payments or miss payments completely. I mean, it happens. So if it does happen, my recommendation would be to call the merchant as soon as you realize, because one time I did it, like, we're all human. I literally 1 month forgot to pay my bills, all of them. I don't know how it happened. And I went through and I'm like going crazy. I'm calling the different companies, and it was literally my first time. So I was able to, you know, be excused from the late fee. And then also eventually that would have been towards my credit and been negatively affected. So all of that can be prevented. You just have to be on top of things. Does anyone have any questions regarding that?
I think Dre wanted to say something.
Yeah, I had a question. It went back to what Pat said and kind of tied in with Al. I hope it segues back to the bank. So if, let's say, somebody made unauthorized purchases on my card, and like Pat was saying, and then like Al said, if it's a credit card, they seem to like get on top of it faster. Does it have to be a card associated with the bank for those, you know, those charges to be like excused, or, you know, or I don't even know how to put it now. I had this question so long. Does it have to be credit card associated with the bank in order for them to cover that, you know, those unauthorized purchases? Does that card have to be like, let's say, from Wells Fargo?
Yes. So whatever card that you are having an issue with, you would call that merchant. So it could be like you have a Home Depot card, right? And you're having a problem with that. You would first try Home Depot, but if Home Depot isn't getting back to you, you would see where your credit card is, the merchant for that card is. So typically, I don't know, it may be like Synchrony Bank or something like that. You would go to that merchant and then file that dispute there. And then they would work with Home Depot and getting your money back. So credit card or debit card, same process. It's just more likely with the credit card because it's initially not your money. Does that make sense? I hope I answered the
But
question.
my question was more like, does that, let's say it's on my Wells Fargo bank card and somebody made unauthorized purchases on it. Does the bank cover it faster as far as like losses, rather than, let's say, if I had I don't know, I can't even think of Macy's credit card. No, I don't want to say Macy's. I don't even want to say a store. Let's say a Scepter, but it's a credit card, you know? Rather than a merchant's credit card, does the bank handle like unauthorized uses or losses because of that? Does the bank handle it
Yeah, I'm gonna say
fast?
whatever sort of card you may have is going to be protected or insured on some level. So whatever like unauthorized purchases happen, you will get that money back. The time frame may be dependent on whatever institution that it is, but the money is going to come back.
Yo, that's crazy. Pat caught me better than I was explaining it myself. Do you have more protection with the bank? So that's where I was going with it.
No. So I think it's all equally protected. So if you have a credit card with, I forget the example that you just used, SEPTA, if it's a SEPTA credit card, that still is being protected by a bank merchant because that's where their card. So SEPTA is working directly with a merchant. So you'll still be protected under those clauses and regulations that the bank has to adhere to. Does that make sense?
Yes. Crystal
So I
clear.
don't think that it matters as long as it's as long as it's credit, like an official credit card, you'll still be protected.
Thank you.
Mhm. Any more questions or comments, concerns?
I had a question. It was kind of off subject from what we're talking about right now, but it's kind of related in a way. Is there a way to transition your personal credit into business credit?
That's actually a great question.
They're separate. They're separate entities. So you would have to establish the business credit separately from the personal one.
All right, but let me give you an example, Pat, what I mean. Say if I got a good credit score rating on my own, right?
Right.
Say I'm in the 700s, 800s for my credit score.
Right.
And I'm starting out this business. How can I apply my personal my good stature of having good credit on a personal level to my business? Not necessarily saying
I feel
that.
you. So when you're going through the process of setting up your business credit, like when you're going through setting the accounts and like showing them that information, when they see that you have the good credit, you might be able to not bypass certain requirements, but your timeline might be sped up in a certain way once they see that you have the credit. So like your credit won't transfer over, but the good stand that you have on your personal will definitely give you benefits as far as like time frames and timelines of what you're able to do with the business one.
Okay. So basically, let's just make the process a little easier than if it wasn't good,
Right.
or it wasn't.
Like you sturdy in one way, so it's like, all right, we have more insight to give you some, not leeway, but we're more willing to work with you in this way because we have a more of an insight of what you did in this other way. But you still got to build that other one up separately. But you know, it's just the timeline of how it all plays out.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so think about it like the initial setup of your business credit will be benefited based on your personal, but that's kind of where it stops. Like it won't go with you on building your business credit. You have to like start from zero.
Okay, is it difficult to start from zero? I mean, establishing, because I'm thinking like, if I'm a bank, why would I take a chance on someone who's starting out in a new business who doesn't have any record or any?
No. The best thing for you to be would be to start it, because like the longer you have your EIN number and everything else, it'll be better. So I mean, everybody starts from zero at some point. Like ain't nobody start with 10 years. So like you have to start it somewhere. So like the quicker you jump on it and have your EIN, then that's what's going to get you in better favor down the line. Of like, all right, he had this business established since 2020 or 2021. Now it's 2024. He's been maintaining it for 3 years because we could do something with them. Not to say that they won't start with you from now, but the longer you have it, the better it is for you in your favor.
Great question, though.
All right, thanks, appreciate it.
Excuse me.
Of course. Any other questions? All right. So the other thing that I wanted to say about credit cards specifically, and jump in if you do have a question. I don't want to cut anyone off. But I was saying, and kind of as we were speaking, it is very easy to get that money back if something does happen, and you know, it is kind of like a sense of security for you. But I would definitely say don't purchase anything on your credit card that you feel like you can't pay off. One rule of thumb is use your credit card as if it was a debit card. So, you know, like if you are, especially if you're building your credit, if you want to buy, I don't know, I'm literally making this up, but like a new oven on your credit card because it's for emergency purposes and your credit card broke down, and your oven broke down, I would say definitely go. If you have a $20 payment due every month, go try to pay $50 on that. Try to pay as much money as you can afford, and that'll just help you build your credit up as you're trying to pay your oven off. So that's just like a tip for you. If you are using your credit card on a daily basis, just try to keep the purchases low and pay it off as soon as possible. Try not to forget about those charges, because again, that will directly affect your credit score. You forget about a credit card bill, you forget about it again the next month, then they're taking you to collections. Now you have collections reaching out to you, they're calling you all day long trying to get their money, and then that's automatically going to your credit report and negatively affecting your score. So I think that's definitely something to think about. Go ahead, Patrick.
Nothing. What's collections?
Collections. So collections is an avenue, basically within any merchant or any bank where it's literally a department where they will reach out to you to try to collect on their money. So it's money that you're owed, and they have people who will utilize the phone, the email, whatever source of contact they have of you. And if they don't have you, they will find it, and they will literally harass you until you pay the money. So sometimes they try to help you, right? So sometimes they try to help you and they say, hey, if you pay, say if you owe $2,000, so if you pay $1,000 off, then we'll make you clear your balance, and it won't hit your credit report, right? So they're trying to get their money. They're trying to get a little portion of their money because they know that it's not likely for you to pay it. That's a direct benefit to you. So if you do end up in a situation like that and you did forget, or finances, life happens, try to take advantage of all those opportunities because the last negative thing is it's going to hit your credit report. It's going to take forever to get off. It's going to stay there forever. And it's going to be very hard to build your actual credit score up. So definitely things to think about as you are utilizing your credit card. They have great positives, and also, like anything, it does have some negative effects.
Thank you.
Of course. All right, I know we have a couple minutes left. Is there, Patrick, the next slide? Yes. So, for a recap of everything, so again, just kind of reiterating to everyone, try to utilize your banking and a checking account as much as possible. There are definitely positives about it. I know you might have heard, or you might have grown up with hearing negative misconceptions about using financial institutions. However, it will land you into a better situation, especially as you're trying to build on your finances. As you want to do different things. I know people mention real estate here, buying different things with their stimulus check. So I definitely think building that up. And I am familiar with PayPal. I actually know a couple people who work at PayPal. So if you have any targeted questions, let me know. We can talk about it.
Okay.
Got a question. Is it possible that someone could have credit so bad that the bank won't let them open an account, or restrict the type of accounts that the bank will allow them to open?
Yes. So there are restrictions. I am not 100% sure, Patrick. I'll feel free to hone in if you do know this, if you will be denied an account. But I know you can be denied a credit card, right? So if you want to go into a bank and open up an account, and sorry, Andre, if this is not what you're specifically asking, but I don't think they'll deny that, right? Because you have to go and put money there. But if you're trying to open up a credit card, and you have really bad credit, I know you can potentially be denied. Your limit can be very low. So there's different, circumstances that may factor into that, but I'm not sure. Patrick, do you know how?
I would say I don't think you would get denied for accounts like checking accounts or things on that on that level. But I think once you start to get into like credit accounts or business accounts, I think then that's when you may run into some restrictions with
Right.
credit in a certain spot.
So for me, I got denied. I actually got denied, and my credit used to be trash. When I say trash, like trash, 500s, maybe the high 400s, right? But I think I got denied because I owe. I tried to open up an account at Wells Fargo. This is years ago, but I owe money from a Bank of America account. So they, I guess, when they were running my information, they found out that I owe money to Bank of America from a checking account, and they wouldn't open up an account at Wells Fargo. So I had to get that taken care of before they would open up. I think banks have a system where they can see other banks where if you owe money.
Yeah, I got homies that's chalk for life. All the scams.
Yeah. Seriously. And that's actually a good point, Al. That's if you ever get caught like in Patrick, if you ever get caught like with scamming at a bank, that can definitely be a reason why you can never do business with the bank ever again. And typically other banks will find out with it as well. So that is a situation where you may be forced to use this shoebox, but I think you know why you got to that point.
We got Milton. Milton asked a question in the chat. He said, does PP have the same authority as banks with penalties and credit report demerits?
Yes, I responded to him. I think I actually did a personal message, but yes, it does. So if you have any discrepancies or disputes with PayPal charges, it's actually better. So a rule of thumb for me is like if I'm making a purchase on Fashion Over or something and I'm making a purchase on, and it has the options when you go to pay, if you want to do credit card, debit card, PayPal, Apple Pay. I typically use PayPal just because it's that extra layer of security for you. So if something does happen, you can go directly to PayPal and they'll figure it out.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, PayPal was a good one. Just real quick story. I was in Jamaica and I was doing some kind of transaction, but you had to pay with PayPal. I think the transaction went through like 5 times. I'm like, nah, this is crazy. Like, why is it going through so many times? But they actually, PayPal actually like put all the money back in my account, which was a lifesaver because I was on edge.
Did PayPal catch it, or you had to file a dispute?
I looked at it and I'm like, why is it coming out my credit? It was like some stupid photos on a boat. So it was some company. So I'm like, first of all, why'd I do it? Second of all, it came up 5 times. So I contacted PayPal and they saw it right away. And they like rolled it back right there. So I was like, thank you, God.
Yeah.
I have a question. I noticed that since Albert just spoke on how he was in Jamaica with using PayPal, I was just curious for international purposes, such as if you were to move to a different country, could you somehow transfer your money that you have in your bank account at a bank institution here in the States to another financial institution overseas?
You talking like offshore accounts? I don't think we record tomorrow. I don't think it's a conversation for the recorded line. We might gotta stop it.
Bro. I think he mean, come on, bro. I think he mean more like banks that have like, they do international banking. So they might have branches here in the US as well as branches overseas.
Yes.
Okay,
So there is the opportunity to transition your money. It is your money. So you can do whatever you want with it. If you want to take your money, I don't know if it's a direct like a virtual, if it's two separate banks. I don't think that that's possible. But I know it's possible for you to actually go into the bank, get your money, take it somewhere else. Now, as if you're using like a Wells Fargo here and say if it was like Bank of London, I don't know if there's any talking that is done there. And I can get back to you on that if you have a specific situation. But I know there's a way. I just don't know if it's like an easy one-step transition with systems talking in the back end.
Lamar's in the coffee shop in Belize. He ain't tell us where, but he in Belize right now.
So, I know, right? I'm checking out that background. Does Wells Fargo have branches overseas?
Yeah, yes.
I might just start calling
Could you name just a couple of countries?
So I know specifically India, London. Trying to think. That's what I got right now.
Y'all crazy, man. Y'all crazy.
Okay.
But I can get back to you if you want to know.
Travel, you know what I mean? You want to see something familiar when it comes to your money, you know what I mean?
Exactly. So I do travel a lot. Every time I get to an airport, I think it was actually in Dubai as well. Once I get to an airport and I see Wells Fargo, I'm very happy. So I know what you mean.
But Lamar do look like he in Belize somewhere. Know that background.
Nikole,